So this is my garden. Um, Basically, I've landscaped everything in my yard on my homestead, other than three oak trees. So everything you're seeing, my Italian cypress, my crepe myrtles, all installed by me, and pretty proud of the fact that they're still all alive. Anyway, strolling down, we got a lot of evergreens. These are called red tips. They're good for uh, sheltering your homestead from looking at neighbors and highways and such. Anyway, they're good. Cover, the birds love them. And yeah, anyway, here's my shed. That's a whole nother story. I have trumpet vines and wisteria and jasmine, and also have a grapevine growing on this shed. There's the grapevine right here. I built a deck one year. It's been through a few incarnations. It could use a little work, but it serves its purpose. Moving along, we got a wall behind here, and I planted some big evergreens from basically twigs I got through the internet. These are Leland cypress. They currently have a disease, and they're at the end of their lifespan, so they're probably on their way out, which is why I planted these little green soldiers, as I call them, which are a evergreen that will grow as tall, if not taller, than these evergreens right here. And they are drought tolerant and pest resistant. The birds like them. They produce red, non-edible berries. And they are called, it'll come to me. Anyway, this is the oak tree. It's just now starting to leaf out, which provides a lot of shade in the summer. And in Texas, we need some shade. And as you can see, I've got more red tips. And the fountain I just recently built. And my brother helped me to learn how to parge it, which is the concrete skim coat on the back outside of it. Actually, these little trees, I forgot their name, they're called cherry laurels. Very good, fast-growing evergreens. Okay. And my fountain, I have 5 goldfish in there. Probably can't see them. Along here I have a couple more cherry laurels, a big blue spruce tree that I'm probably going to take down to make room for fruit trees. A couple shrubs that my mom and I put in the pots. And then here is the makings of my garden, the start of it. I chose to do container garden this year for the most part, and some above ground beds as well. You can always do a garden where you dig and hoe and all that stuff, but that's a very labor intensive and something I wasn't up to this year. Now, if you do a digging garden, a garden where you're digging, you need to make sure that you know what's under the ground. So you need to call your utilities. Usually it's 811, and schedule for them to come out and show you where all your utilities and electrical lines are, because you don't want to end up killing yourself or someone else. So anyway, I just built this raised bed. This is going to be where some squash go. Hence my little guy that just fell over. I don't have the soil in it yet, but I'm going to do squash and then trellis it up the wall once it gets going. And one consideration when you're going to be going up the side of a wall, or you're close to your house, you want to make sure that the water runoff for when it rains, and occasionally it does rain in Texas, not very much, but it does, You can kind of see a line down the side of the house. So all the water coming off the house, because I don't have gutters, is going to be pouring into these beds. So you really need to kind of get an idea where your beds need to go and where they don't need to go, because you don't want all the water from the asphalt roof pouring into your garden. And then I have a few other beds that I've created, and I've got arugula, which you can see is coming up, spinach. All of this I planted on the weekend, which was 3 or 4 days ago. I got carrots, multicolored carrots here, and then I have radishes, which I'm not completely fond of, but I'm going to try to acquire a taste for them. We got celery, and then some red onion, which I planted from starters, the red onion. And then most recently I planted a mandarin tree, which is this little guy. They're pretty fast producing citrus tree. Got it at the Home Depot. It was about $36. Vitamin C and whatnot. And then my flowering crepe myrtles, which I haven't, you can't eat them, but anyway, moving on. This is a nectarine tree, which already has fruit on it. It's borne fruit before, which I've eaten and is very good. Kind of hard to see where the fruit is, but there is fruit on this tree. Beautiful pink blossoms in the spring. It's leaning a little bit, but it's okay. Oh, here's a low-hanging fruit, as they say. Boop, right there. So my other fruit tree is a fig tree. And this little guy has been all around my yard because I had him in a pot. And that's actually a good way to figure out the light exposure for your plants. If you don't, look it up or whatever, you got to figure out where the tree is going to do best. I've decided this is where it's going to do best. And it's also borne fruit already. And I can't wait for this year's figs. Now I have 3 other fruit trees coming. A Greek olive tree, which is an evergreen. That does well in dry areas. And then I have also a cherry tree and an apricot tree. Those are coming through the mail. I did just recently move all these planters over here, and as you can see, I have them raised. The reason you want to raise your container garden is because a lot of the pests that attack the plants can come in from the bottom, because you should have drain holes in all your pots. And so raise them on whatever you got around your property. In my case, it's rocks and pavers and whatnot. You could use just about anything. I do have a green tarp under it because I just don't want to deal with the grass coming up and other ways for the pests to get into my plants. I have 4 tomatoes. I've got the cages on them for the most part right now because of a cat I have that likes to sit in pots. So little Miss Monkey cannot sit on my tomatoes. And then I have 5 pepper plants. I have jalapeno peppers, red bell peppers, because I love those, and another giant Marconi pepper. Eating, you can pickle them, do whatever. And then I have my lettuce mix that's coming up, and this is probably about a week's worth of growth. You can eat it as microgreens, or you can wait till it gets bigger and then do what's called a cut and come again technique on lettuce, which is rather than pull the whole plant out, cut the tops off and let it regrow and regenerate. That's called cut and come again. And then you've got more onions here. These guys I planted this past weekend, and I had a bunch left over, which I gave to my neighbor at a safe social distance. These 6 pots here I have are actually for potatoes, which I have not yet planted. I have them trying to sprout on my porch. I learned how to grow potatoes off the internet, so I'm going to get planting those at some point. So I wanted to show you the regrow. Don't forget your catnip for your friends. And then that's my cilantro coming up. Woohoo! And my basil. Can't wait for that. Fresh basil pasta. Basil pesto. And then over here in this little grouping is a regrow. Now, if you buy vegetables at the grocery store, a lot of people are buying their lettuce in bags nowadays, but if you get a whole head of lettuce, particularly romaine, if you cut off the bottom and use the top, and then stick it in water and put it in a container, either on a sunny place in your house or on the porch, as you see, it starts to grow. So you've cut and it's come again. And the same thing with celery. Celery is a little bit slower growth plant, but as you can see, that one is sprouting as well. The other things I have here are my green onions. See, that's the cut line, and all that growth since, let's see, I want to say Sunday. Today's Thursday, so not too many days. Same thing with carrots. Cut the bottoms off, stick them in water, and they grow again. Look at that. A lot of people know this stuff, but some people don't. I got ginger. I love ginger. It's great in Asian dishes. You can make tea out of it. So same thing, put it in some water or stick it in the dirt and it'll grow again. Same thing with shallots. This looks a little nasty at the moment, but I gotta change the water out. My potatoes, I'm not real sure. It looks, that one's rotten. So I gotta do some work on my potatoes. But who hasn't had a potato regrow in their cupboard, right? So that's what you want to stick in the soil, because that'll grow more potatoes for you. Moving on, I also needed some garlic. I was getting a little panicked because I was like, I don't have any fresh garlic. So when I did get one head of garlic, what I did was I separated out the cloves, soaked them in a little water, put them about thumb deep in this pot about a week ago. And as you can see, I'm growing new heads of garlic. It's pretty awesome. Looking forward to that. As well as the lemongrass. I got some good lemongrass at the Asian market. And actually you can get it just about anywhere nowadays. You can sacrifice one, stick it in water or in the dirt, and it'll start growing again. Good in Asian dishes, very fragrant. It's great to use in curries and everything else. This little barren looking pot actually has ginger in it. Same thing, soak it, put it in the dirt, lay it horizontal, so this way instead of up and down, because that's the way ginger grows, and it'll sprout up and you'll have fresh ginger growing as well. Here we got some garden sage, lemon thyme, English thyme, dill, Italian oregano, and Italian parsley. So we've got the makings of some good dishes here. Any combination of any of them will change the flavor of the stuff that if you're in a lockdown situation, you want to have some seasonings besides salt and pepper, because stuff starts to get boring. Eating the same thing, and eating the same thing is not all the time, is nutritionally is not good for you, and it's also not good for your mental state. If you got to eat peanut butter and jelly every day, after a while you're going to get depressed, and you're going to get sick of it, and your blood sugar is going to rise, and that's all bad. So anyway, here's my garden so far. Oh, forgot about my peas and my beans. created this one over here. I got pole beans that are going to grow up here. I got peas, and I got bush beans that are going to be growing up here. Not sure about the position of the bed because it's up against the fence. And it may not get as much of the intense sun that it needs, but we will see. And next time I'll talk about what you use and shouldn't use in your garden for creating your beds. All right, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the tour of my garden. And don't forget, your suburban homestead survival, you need to thrive, not just survive.